Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, AmTrust Title, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Capital One Bank, Sterling National Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Meridian Capital Group. Additional funding has been provided by grants from Amarant Bank, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, B6 Real Estate Advisors, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, RPW Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Merringore Family Foundation, and these friends. So, Crystal Apple, tell me what's happening in the investment sales market. Is land being sold? Are there land leases? What's happening with co-living? What's happening with multifamily? You know, all of this, where do we see ourselves in the world today? So Crystal Apple told me to invite 3 leading investment sales executives to provide their insight on the market. My guests, they include Brian Leary, co-founder and co-managing partner at CPEX Real Estate, DJ Johnson, who's a partner at B6 Real Estate Advisors, and last but not least, the ever-ready bunny, who runs around crazy all the time, Aaron Youngrice, who is the founder, CEO, and chairman of Rosewood Realty. So, how's the market? What's really happening in the market?
We're still seeing a lot of transactions. A lot of guys think that, catching a falling knife, they don't want to buy till June, till all the rent laws come through. But we're still very active in the Bronx.
You know, for my audience who doesn't understand inside baseball, what are the proposed rent or the discussions of the rent laws?
Well, they're talking about getting rid of IAIs. They're talking about getting rid of preference. They're talking about getting rid of vacancy decontrol. They're talking about getting rid of 20% increase upon vacancy. It's very anti-landlord. I think there's a bit of a socialist bent to it. And I think some of these laws that they're proposing are going to hurt the market on a very long-term basis.
Have you seen that, Brian?
You know, we actually have seen it. I think people who have held on and are considering selling are still stuck on numbers of the past, and buyers are, weighing these potential changes into their acquisitions numbers, and there's a huge disconnect there for sure.
DJ?
Yeah, I think if you look at the overall numbers year over year, they're holding firm. Volume is up a little bit, transaction volume is down a little bit, but ultimately we're seeing similar numbers year over year. I think what we've noticed that's interesting is in the middle market units that are 6 to 20, which are assumed to be rent stabilized, that volume is down 40% from the peak. You look at, alternatively, 4 to 5 unit buildings, which are assumed to be free market, they're up 100% year over year. So we're seeing a kind of an adjustment in the way that multifamily investors are purchasing. They're focusing more on free market units.
That's multifamily. Let's talk about industrial development on ownership and also on land leases.
So I think historically we've seen conversions of industrial buildings in Williamsburg, Gowanus, and areas like that that zoning permits. And more recently, we've seen those buildings being converted to office space. And I think most of that existing stock throughout Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx is really not suited for logistics space. So what we're seeing is a new development, ground up, in cases even where there's existing buildings that are going to be demoed and there's going to be multi-level logistics type space being built because there's tremendous demand. We don't have a whole lot of that space existing. And the only way to really build the adequate space is to do it ground up.
Are you seeing that in sales today, or are we seeing land leases?
So
where's the prevalence?
It's both. I think, if you did a quick study, and I did this of the 5 boroughs, in order to build multi-level industrial, you need 5 acres plus. If you looked at the stock of 5-acre parcels, including buildings in the 5 boroughs, there's probably under 100 of those sites in each market. So the space doesn't exist. It typically may even need to be assembled. And, for a logistics building, you don't want to build less than 100,000 feet. So that's a 2-acre site in itself.
Yeah, I love industrial because the buying pools are so deep. You can go to an end user, you can go to a retailer. What we're seeing in Brooklyn is more so, manufacturers that act as end users. So they can operate in the space, they can have a retail component, and they have the ability to acquire something on their own. So they tend to be most competitive in areas like East Williamsburg. The ground lease format, I think, works in the industrial if there's a retail uptick. So a lot of guys will come in and secure a warehouse for 49 years, look to the retail as a pop in year 10 or year 15.
You mean to convert it to a retail?
Correct.
What are we seeing, in the office market, in the sales market, in the boroughs?
We're not doing many office. We have 1 office building in Brooklyn that we're doing. But there's definitely a bit of an appetite because the multifamily people are walking away or they're not as interested. In fact, I mentioned to you before, we're doing 2 land deals in Brooklyn, which at Rosewood we rarely do. And we're actually getting hired to do 2 more land deals. So.
And what are they going to use the property for?
Resi, both resi. Not industrial. Both of them are going to be, one is in an op zone, which is the new craze now.
So let's talk about the opportunity zones. There are 8,300 opportunity zones around the country. There are a significant number of opportunity zones within the 5 boroughs of New York City. The only question that I brought up before when we were in the green room is that the people who are doing opportunity zones, the investor who's putting their money in probably doesn't understand what they're getting involved with because of the long-term hold to save the situation. Are the opportunity zone investments that you're seeing people buying, are they for residential or are they for different asset classes?
So far, both of them were for residential, both guys. And you are correct, though, about the investors not knowing how long they're going to have to keep their money there. But right now, this is the craze, and we're moving what the craze is.
What about retail? I mean, are you seeing retail sales within the outer boroughs doing reasonable, Brian?
Yeah, I think in those particular areas where transit is not that strong, that's like a very local community and very under-retailed. That's kind of like a central business district for that area of Sheepshead Bay where Ashkenazi bought.
There's no transportation. I mean, you have to take a bus to get it to the train.
But he's got ample parking. Everybody drives, and he's got enough co-tenancies where I think he'll do very well there. And across the street from that, you have Acadia has a site, which we did all the office leasing on that, and they've got very strong retail tenants there in place.
I think retail is super sensitive to interest rates, so we want to keep an eye on that. I think they're passive investments typically, so they're really sensitive to where market rents are. We found in the sale of Nostrand that the vacancy component of that wasn't valued at all. So I think vacancy is a big concern when it comes to retail, and it's impacting how investors are underwriting.
What are you seeing in the Bronx? Okay, the Bronx, a lot of new development is planned, and I think the residential existing market is strong. The properties are decent, they're in good shape. Are you seeing any sales in all different properties in the Bronx?
Yeah, we're actually selling 4 deals right now. 3 of them are strictly residential. 1 is residential with a huge commercial component, and we had bidding wars on 3 out of the 4 deals, shockingly, today. So there's still a lot of interest in the Bronx. Very crude analysis, but let's say Brooklyn was going for 20 times rent, and now it's 15, which is a 25% decrease. Let's say the Bronx was 13, and now it's going for 11. And again, it's a crude analysis, but that's like a 15% decrease. So the Bronx, the decrease is lower. The rates are still the same as if you buy in Manhattan. You could still borrow at 4 1/8. So there's still, I find a big appetite for people who want to buy in the Bronx.
We're a Brooklyn-based firm, but the last 5 years, we kind of went into Queens. We're very active. And more recently, relationships are taking us into the Bronx. So I think both Brooklyn and Queens, there's a lot of areas there where you can still buy buildings. Forgetting cap rates and net income, you can buy buildings that are well below replacement cost, which is a very fundamental buy.
No, I just wanted to add, Brooklyn rental developers, so these are guys that build for long-term hold purposing, they are getting priced out of certain areas of Brooklyn. They're just not competing with end users that are developing for a particular need or with condo developers. So they're looking to lower basis areas like East New York and the Bronx, where they can buy at $65 a buildable. We sold a site on 233rd in the North Bronx for $100 a buildable, which is well above average, but it had a nice retail component of it. So I think there's a lot of demand in the Bronx and in other areas like East New York for affordable development.
What do you see happening in Coney Island, Brighton, Sheepshead Bay sections of Brooklyn?
I think Sheepshead Bay is very hard to find a site these days. There's been a lot of development there, and it's a very finite market, and it's very strong. I think, that market expands into Coney Island. I did that deal with Muss and Avalon Bay in the middle of Sheepshead Bay Road. They built a 40-story building.
Which is done unbelievable, and Muss has achieved high numbers for the sales. I don't know what the rentals are doing yet.
They're doing tremendous.
High 40s on the rentals?
They got great amenities, and
But you know what? You also have the train. The train is only a 5-minute walk, and then you have the water. You really have a different community. Sheepshead Bay is a totally different neighborhood than Coney Island. What about that borough that nobody really talks about? Okay, that I know you're doing work, Staten Island. Aaron, are you allowed to go to there, or are you allowed to go over the?
We are allowed to go, but the last deal we did in Staten Island was like in 2012. So I'm not focused on Staten. I'd rather. In fact, I'm focusing more on Jersey. We're doing an op zone deal in Jersey, so Staten Island, nothing.
Not to avoid the Staten Island question, but I just did want to add to the Coney Island conversation. You look at the population in Brooklyn at 2.6, 2.7 million people. I mean, that's equatable to Chicago. And I think when you have a affordability problem and you have population that's outpacing building stock, I think it's really important that you have these scalable projects in areas like Coney Island in order to keep affordability levels and also just create balance within Brooklyn.
But you do realize that it's only a 10-minute trip from Coney Island to Staten Island if you go over the bridge. So what's going on over there?
And closer to Manhattan.
Right.
10 minutes to Manhattan, too, by the boat. There's activity, but not at the level. But I would tell you this, and it's a space we don't play a lot in, but the single-family home market in Staten Island is very strong. And there's a major migration from Brooklyn into Staten Island. The schools are busting at the seams. There's an area that's heavily retailed. The resources are there.
And the retail does well.
Very well.
The existing retail does well. The big task right now is to see how the Empire Outlets will do in Staten Island, because it's a different type of outlet. You can't consider the Empire Outlets like Woodbury Commons. There are two different types of stores.
Right. Also the wheel fell apart. That's not good for Staten Island.
No, the wheel fell apart.
I still don't understand how the budget got up to like $500 million for that.
Right.
The wheel falling apart for Staten Island, I think, is even bigger than the Amazon not going to LIC, because LIC is so strong anyway, but the wheel leaving Staten Island shows that in Staten Island it's very hard to get a project done.
I'd like somebody to explain to my audience the co-living, and you were talking recently about the British company coming to New York. Co-living, as I was saying on a number of shows, there's a significant reduction in cost for a single individual to be in a co-living one room as opposed to a studio apartment. So that's what creates a lot of possibilities for people co-living. In addition, people like the co-living concept, and that many of them work over there. What do you were talking about your client who's buying certain properties?
Well, I think co-living takes on a bunch of different forms. You have the management component of it, you have the technology component of it, and then you actually have owners that are buying land in order to build for their particular suit. So it's a really interesting trend that's taking place. You know, on the managerial side, you know, basically what they're doing is they're taking ground leases against the building. They're charging on a per bedroom basis. They're creating a culture and an amenity package that's drawing in tenants that are essentially renting on a per bedroom basis. And they're getting a premium for that, and they collect the margin between market rents and the premium that they can achieve. So it's a really kind of interesting concept. The development side, they're able to build in a way that residential developers just can't compete with. So they can take advantage of different commercial zonings in a way that residential would be unable to do so.
And let's talk about the examples that you gave of the company from London.
Right, so a site sold on Broadway in East Williamsburg is going to the Collective, and that zoning was a high-density mixed-use zoning. So there was about a third of it was for commercial use, the rest was for residential, and the hurdle for the residential market was, what do you do with all this office space, second story, third story, commercial space. They were able to capitalize on that space by doing short-term rentals, somewhat of a transient stay. So it collects the same income as a residential development would.
So part of the units are short-term rentals and part of the units are annual leases.
Correct. And every developer, they have their different strategies on build out and how they're going to differentiate themselves from the other co-living companies.
With regard to that, I'll ask Brian and Aaron, are you seeing people who are now selling properties, when you're selling the property, bringing out the possibility that you can create this as a co-living? Or are they selling the properties specifically saying, I got a 2-bedroom apartment, I'm going to have maybe a couple people in there, and I'm not looking at the co-living component?
The latter.
So they're not looking at the co-living.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was doing a transaction in Clinton Hill, and we were looking for, it's already a residential converted building. Large units should be shrunk to generate more cash flow. And we weren't really targeting shared living, but we got a few offers on that basis, and we're going to do a deal with a developer that actually has a relationship and did another transaction with the shared living group that's going to come in and operate.
I'll tell you what I am finding, I don't know if you guys see this. We have a free market building in Queens, a couple of free market buildings in Manhattan. Because you don't have to contend with stabilization, we've got a lot of interest on that. Because now everyone's running away from stabilization and going to free market. So we're finding that some of the deals we have now that are free market are garnering a lot of interest.
So where are the opportunities for an investor today? But where would you say, if somebody came to you, they have some money, they want to go into something, where would you recommend? Okay, they're patient investors, okay? They're not short-term, they're not looking.
You know, it sounds crazy. I'm going to give an answer that maybe is a contradiction. The Bronx. Because the Bronx is still strong, there's development coming in, and the rents are still low. And believe it or not, I'm selling a lot of deals today south of 34th Street in the Village because the rents over there are skyrocketing. Even though the taxes are going up, and even though stabilization laws are very tough, the rents downtown are there's hundreds of thousands of students living there, and they're rooming together, and you charge them crazy amounts of rents, and they're paying it.
To me, the most obvious location, and the Bronx is a big place, Jamaica, Queens. Just take one neighborhood. It's downtown Brooklyn 25 years ago. It's a central business district. You've got academia. You've got cultural spaces operating. You've got phenomenal transit, city agency, and really dense zoning that exists. And there's probably 5,000 or 6,000 units being built right now.
But a significant number of the units being built are affordable.
Correct, and the land base is, 2 years ago was $50 a foot. We did a ground lease for 500,000 feet of affordable housing right on the air terminal there. That was done at $3 a buildable foot at the time. We're working on other stuff today where the rents are double. And the land basis, the last deal that we sold there was north of 100 a buildable foot.
You know what I've been seeing, and I happened to see it this weekend? I went to the Landmark Theater on 57th Street and 12th Avenue, which is far over at the water. and the landmark is, you know, an eightplex, but it's within the Durst apartment rental on 12th Avenue. You're seeing a significant number of entertainment facilities, okay? The Alamo Draft in downtown Brooklyn, not far from you, it's the best, highest gross Alamo cinema in the nation, and they're expanding. I know that Aaron Malinsky is building in Sunnyside a Regal. I know Tarragon in Flushing is another movie theater going up there. Do you see that? Are people coming to you with regard to the movie theaters, entertainment centers, and other things like the Ninja Center, which just opened up in Howard Beach? You know, because people want to have different types of opportunities on the weekends or with their children.
There's been a tremendous amount of event-type spaces open in the Gowanus and Red Hook. There's an axe throwing venue. There's, you know, bow and arrow. There's an indoor film / mini golf for the kids. There's a lot going on in that space. I think that's something that we really lack. And when you take that location, there's 5 brownstone communities around it with a lot of families, and there's tremendous demand for that stuff.
Speaking about that, what do you believe what's going to happen right now with the proposed Gowanus rezoning on values of properties?
So actually, I'm pretty well entrenched in that, and one thing that I think is very interesting, it's probably 75% of the market got rezoned residentially, which I don't think any of us thought it was going to go that heavy residential.
But it's conjecture of different properties.
Correct.
To keep the neighborhood looking similar to what it was before. They're not allowing 4-story buildings. They want 15-story the maximum.
Yeah, the highest zoning is, I think, is a 150-foot height limit and 4 times FAR. So it's an R7, there's R6, there's mixed use, and then there's 2 definitive pockets that are going to remain commercial, which I think that rezoning is going to be very good for Sunset Park, because if they left it all commercial, it's clearly a better market for office space and more in demand. But I think it's going to limit the amount of office space that's going to go in there now, since it's been rezoned, which I think should help people seeking affordable office rents. It should really help Sunset Park.
What about properties near the Navy Yard? What's happening in that community nearby?
A lot of those industrial buildings are not getting rented for the amounts that they thought they were going to rent. We actually sold an IMD building there recently, but I think that area is a little overhyped. The train's a real issue over there.
Yeah, it's very challenged. And that's what we're finding out with these office buildings that were put further out. The transportation is a huge problem.
We've got 6 million leasable square feet of office coming to downtown Brooklyn and that surrounding area, 3 million of which is Class A. So I think the next 12 to 24 months is really going to be telling on what type of tenants they can attract, and I think that'll either waterfall or it'll create some inefficiencies in that market.
What about the residential development and for sale of what's happening in downtown Brooklyn? I mean, there's not much property left, correct?
Dumbo is almost, the population is going to increase by almost 40% in the next 24 months. With the Kushner purchases, there's a significant amount of new product being built in Dumbo specifically. And I think that's priced appropriately. I think if you look at where condos sell out for in Dumbo, it's $1,500, $1,600 a foot. If you're buying at a land basis of $400 a foot, that's actually a better spread than, say, buying a site in Bed-Stuy for $250 a foot, where condos are selling out at $1,000. So I think it bodes well for that neighborhood.
Brian, downtown Brooklyn, that's your headquarters.
Yeah,
that's what
I mean, it continues to build, and I think, you know, while we always say there's no sites left, there's still plenty of room for development. We got very dense zoning. There's still assemblages to be had, and there's a lot of air floating around down there. And it's interesting because, you know, we sit right across from Barnett's project that I think he's going to break all kinds of barriers on sell-offs.
I mean, that's called Brooklyn Point, and I believe part of the reason he's going to break the numbers is the fact that it's a 25-year tax abatement. So you have tax abatement for 25 years, makes the world much easier than going into a condo in Clinton Hill where you're paying full taxes or something like that. That's, you know, the situation. What about the sale of non-for-profit properties? Are you seeing significant changes?
We're getting a couple recently. I don't know why, if it's just coincidental, but we have a couple of non-for-profits that we're working on with synagogue and charity.
We do a lot of nonprofit work, mainly because it's a land-rich, cash-poor situation where they own a significant parcel and they're only able to leverage a portion of it, so their operating costs are really high and they're not maximizing the value of the land surrounding their parcel. So we're doing a lot of ground leases, a lot of JVs, creative ways for these nonprofits to generate income for themselves.
Brian?
Similar. I'm actually working for a church where they own like 500 properties, nationally and internationally. They started here, and I have a site up on Columbus Avenue where they're going to move to another church, and a site on Myrtle Avenue that we're looking to monetize.
Look, the nonprofits, in a way, it's giving them the value that they've built into these properties. Certain of the nonprofits, their congregations are dwindling in some of the churches and synagogues. The community changes. As we say, they're land rich but poor financially, and it's a good situation for everybody.
Right.
And it's needed. So I think in conclusion, even though people say that the world is a little difficult in the investment sales, with low interest rates, with people wanting New York, with the opportunity zone alternatives and everything, the apple is shiny over there. And I'd like to thank Brian, DJ, and Aaron, and I'll see you next week.